So after doing my end of year roundup last year, I decided I want to get a bit more involved with supporting the community and promoting other people's work. And so I figured it might be nice to try and do a more regular roundup of stuff that I've found each month. A small caveat, this is just work that I've found and it's personal taste, so if you've found other stuff that you like, feel free to share it with me. We could start a channel on the Discord for that if necessary, and maybe we can all discover some new stuff at the same time. I will be listing all the relevant links in the description below so that you can find all of these pieces and enjoy them too. Statistically, most of you are not subscribed yet, so if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, you can, it's free, and then next month you won't have to hunt for the next installment of this series. I should also say these are things that I've discovered in the last month, so it might be that they were posted a little before, or my timings are a little out, but listen, cut me some slack. I'm just an Instagram user like you. Anyway, let's all discover some beautiful paint jobs, sculpts, and hobby bits. First up, we have Ashun'ghar. This is a Necromunda model, the Lady of Ash, painted by Enrique Herrero Miravalles, who goes by Kike Beroler on Instagram. The first thing that struck me on this one was the copper. Very, very nice textured NMM copper with subtle oxidization and a really nice warm paint job overall. The green cloth contrasts the warmer tones very nicely, and despite being a slightly colder green in the shadows and darker parts, it's a warmer, very subtly desaturated lighter tone in the greens, and the lovely leathers and bone colours give this model a really wonderful cohesion. Next up is French painter Seyni, or Nebrusion as he goes by on Instagram, and this is his version of Lucas Pina's Mama Gnoma sculpt. This one has a really interesting colour scheme. We are talking blues and greens for the skin tones, and then yellows into deep purples for the hat and the owl, and I love this more unique take on this piece. And it's nice and punchy as a scheme, as well as giving off those magical nighttime vibes. Now we have something a bit moodier. This is an orc pirate from Robert Karlsson, who goes by Roglin Studio on Instagram. I love the dynamics in this piece, the value range being used to great effect to bring the viewer's attention to the face, but then things like the fist, the shoulder pad, and up to the gun barrel. There are some wonderful green tones being used here, and the use of texture to define different areas of the model is excellent. I particularly like the subtle reds in the knuckles on the power fist, and the really classy purpley armour part of the gun. Everything about this piece is really consistent. Okay, next up is Daniel Joline's Necromunda Trader. He goes by The Miniature Men on Instagram. This one really jumped out at me too. The pink hair, the purple jacket lining, the really bright focus on the skin to bring the attention towards the face and front of the scene. I like the subtle humour in the poster at the back, the texture on the black leather trousers, and attention to detail in things like those secondary ground reflections in the studs on the trousers, the lovely red laces mirroring the hair colour, and the convincing graffiti on the backdrop. Next, we have Kuriko, painted by Nacho González. He is Nacho González Art on Instagram. This piece is really super nice. Apart from the fact that the futuristic theme appeals to me anyway, we have a strong set of light sources here, the overall global light giving us neutral tones on the front of the model, we have a warm light from the left and a pink light from the right. There's some amazing material painting happening here on the hooded top. Just look at those reflections on the clothed arm. We also have some nice jeans material, and the metallics of the robot arm are fantastic considering all those different light source considerations. I do especially like the subtle green shading in the skin and the reddening of the cheeks, a very striking piece for sure. Back down in scale this time for Rohan's Trench Crusade Observer. I'm a big fan of Rohan's approach in general. He has some craft worldy-esque techniques up his sleeve, and things like the strong purple base coat here really help give this a unique feel. The lovely texture and brushwork he has on those armour panels, the light yellow highlights of the red armour, and the subtle greens brought into the chainmail and the shoulder shield all make this one visually fascinating. Next up is Ladislav Majer's Oshe the Wildness. He goes by Lachik Mai on Instagram. This piece looks to be a 75mm scale sculpt, and for me it's so nice to see the blue, green and turquoise colours so prominent here. I love that the icy cold of the overall piece is contrasted by these almost burning embers dotted into the backdrop and the rocks beneath. The skin tones here are erring more towards yellows, which works harmoniously with the blues, and that blue really comes in everywhere, including the highlights on the leather, the boots, the hair and so on. Definitely a moody scene, while still being bright and punchy overall. Hot tip, check out the subtle red into blue and purple on the skin shaded areas around the knees, for example. Okay, next up we have Michal P, aka Land Studio on Instagram, with his version of Herrero models Bakari. This one is obviously a powerful piece, and the focus is very much in the face and the chest with that glowing teal green colour. If you can pry your eyes away from that, there is some incredible gold NMM going on with the scarab beetle necklace, complete with amazing painted reflections from the green book glow. I also love the skin tone you can see on the arms, the face and lower on the torso here. This almost sandy tanned skin has such rich reddy brown shadows, and there's a lot of restraint on not highlighting that skin all the way up to almost white, so that the white and the lighter green tones in the glowing parts really jump out. There's a lot to dive into on this piece, and it took me a while to even notice the jade dragon serpent thing over the shoulders and that wonderful red headdress material. Something a little different now from Tim J, or Timofey J on Instagram. This is the Yokai piece from Midgard Miniatures, and I love this approach. I don't have pictures of the full piece since I imagine it might still be a work in progress, but the focus on the face here is fantastic. Such a simple effect using the red plus the monochrome approach, and of course the Japanese flag visual. I am very excited to see more of this. Alright, a bit of grimdark now from the aptly named Grimwolves. This version of Aethon Shaan is just spot on for the aesthetic. Firstly, I noticed the hair, which is suitably lank, and such a nice replacement for the sculpted efforts. The texture all over this piece really jumps out, but I especially like things like the red ribbons with cropped Aquila graphics, the base replacement to something more gothic feeling, and the general grime and dust of the scene. Really perfect for this model in my eyes. I actually tried my hand at this model and found it a real challenge to paint. On to Atila Kawauti's bust maker Dwarf. Atila goes by Pintando Miniaturas on Instagram, and this is a cracking paint job. Obviously, most obvious on first glance is the fire reflected in the torso and beard. The colours there are spot on and immediately give you a sense of the setting without you even seeing that element. The skin tones and the highlighting draw the eye towards the face too, and there's some lovely value contrast on things like the nose and cheeks. This is a very strong approach, no need for subtlety here when you can paint this well. Some lovely gold NMM happening too, and lots of punchy saturation without relying on a lot of hue contrast beyond the odd splash of teal in the shadows. Now, this one is silly in the best way. We have Rivindell here from Oliver Spaeth. Oliver is known for his astonishing dioramas, and he's gone to a hilariously small scale with this one. I think a lot of the love I have for this one is in the craft. Working at this size and putting in so much amazing detail is just genuinely impressive. The water, the roof tiles, the figure standing, the little boat, and such attention to detail with all the greenery. There is so much to this that you can completely get lost in, and I really hope I get to see this in person one day to really appreciate how wild this one is. Now we come to Oliver, aka OP Minis on Instagram. This is, let's say, an evolution on his Grand Cathay piece from last year, working with similar green tones but taking that refinement, I guess, a step further. I love the composition here, the attention to detail, and the fact that despite the amount of green happening in the piece, it remains wonderfully readable. The NMM on the belt buckle, the pattern on the back of the cloak, the hand-painted map, and something I've also been enjoying doing recently is that carefully applied texture in things like the rope. I really look forward to seeing this piece in person at Adepticon later in the year, and best of luck to Ollie in Golden Demon. Sticking with Warhammer, we are on to 40k now, and this Killer Morph painted by Victor Vera. So in addition to being very well executed, I particularly like the lighting on this one. The desert scene is of course immediately apparent from the sand, but there's a wonderful warmth to the paintwork elsewhere, so that even in the turquoise armour, you're getting warm highlights, and that yellowy orange and red tone on the cloak are fantastic. I'm a big fan of this one, and there are lots of subtleties to look for too. Things like the secondary reflections of the sand everywhere from the armour and metal on the boots to the underside of the gun barrels. This has had a lot of work gone in, and there's a wonderful overall coherence to the piece. Now, Dave Caldwell has dropped a couple of bangers recently, and congrats to him on his recent crystal brush piece, but just before he gave us that unreal piece of painting, he also gave us this. This is Aela, a new sculpt from Elena Karimova for Nico Galaxy, and you can see Dave's work at DaveCaldwell725 on Instagram. Now, this immediately gave me Jasmine vibes from Disney's Aladdin, and the more I looked, the more there was to enjoy about this. First of all, the story in the sculpt is wonderful. You don't see it from the front, but behind her back is a gun while she shows off this sword from the front. But from a painting perspective, this is unreal. The texture and variation in reflections on the headscarf, especially considering 3 light sources happening, plus the gold weave of the pattern. Then we have the smooth tones of that skin. The realism on show here is astonishing. I also love the decision to go for the lighter khaki webbing as opposed to a darker brown, so that you have that wonderful contrast with the skin, and the reflections on the sword just show this wonderful attention to detail. I am a big fan of this piece. I think Dave has nailed it. Now one for the Space Marine fans, this is Austin, aka AK Paints Again, and his Storm Warden. He's gone to town on this NMM here, from the shiny silver to the more satin of the blue armour. This one feels like a lovely exercise in simplicity. There are some really nice simple touches like the red reflection on the gun barrel and in the workings of the backpack, but don't let the simplicity fool you. There's obviously a lot of work gone in here. I especially like that the silver appears to have some desaturated, almost green-grey on the go, as opposed to the usual overtly blue shine that you get on a lot more chrome-styled NMM. And last up for this month, we have Brody, aka Pock Paints on Instagram, and his Rogue magazine from Ignis Art Miniatures. For me, this one is about the colours in the bodice, that wonderful teal, as well as the beautiful orangey brown leather and those textures he has going on, and of course the unique skin with those pink and purple patterns happening. It is sort of gruesome and pretty in equal measure, and it's a really cool choice, which I think takes this mini to the next level for me. There are lots of subtleties to like too, from the blue tint in the right hand side of the hair to the impressive NMM on the blades on the belt, and the super nice leather style textures in that lacing on the bodice. So that's us for this month. If you liked any of those pieces, you can find the links in the description. If you have some of your own, feel free to share them, and until next time, cheers!